Next time you see this plant in your backyard, don't cut it down, because this is the best natural painkiller you'll ever find. Some people even compare it to morphine. Now if you take a leaf or stem and squeeze it, you'll see a white substance coming out. This is where the potency of the plant lies. So let's avert our gaze from our modern survival thinking for just a bit, and look at how our great-grandparents did it 150 years ago. So the first thing you should do is grind them up in a blender. Place the ground leaves into a wide pot and add just enough water to cover them. Now place the pot on the stove on low heat for 30 minutes. Do not let it boil because you'll destroy all the good stuff in it. Be careful at the end when there is little water left. You should not burn the extract at the bottom of the pot. What you should have now here is pure wild lettuce extract. You can pour it in a small glass container like this and put it in your medicine cabinet for later use when you'll need it. Wild lettuce is unscheduled by the FDA, meaning it's legal to grow, own, and forage without prescription or license, just like how the Native Americans used to heal their pain. When the medical system collapses, this will be the only option you have to heal yourself. This is exactly the kind of information I found in this 350-page book called The Lost Ways. This is probably the only survival book I've actually enjoyed reading. I personally happen to know the man behind this book. Claude is an old-fashioned guy by any standard. He lives with his wife and 2 children in a log cabin he personally built. Cooks outside on an open flame in a cauldron most of the time, and all of his clothes are handmade. He has a 150-square-foot root cellar stuffed with all sorts of homemade canned foods and goods, and he raises cows, sheep, and chickens. I thought several times to myself that this guy will never be troubled by any crisis, because the coming crisis we all prep for is what folks 150 years ago called daily life. No electrical power, no refrigerators, no internet, no computers, no TV, no active law enforcement, no Safeway or Walmart. They got things done or else we wouldn't be here.
We no longer know how to live without refrigerators, without cars, without phones, or without supermarkets. What will you do tomorrow if you simply are unable to buy things? I sometimes even think we're kidding ourselves with our bug-out bags and with our 3-day food rations. Wouldn't we be better off looking at what the pioneers took with them when they traveled from Independence, Missouri, all the way to Oregon City? Game meat was unreliable even then, so don't think that they made this 5-month journey counting only on that. If your life depended on this, what bug-out bag would you take with you? I know I would stick with what the pioneer had with him. He had to travel weeks on end without much help, while taking cover from some native tribes at the same time. And this is just a small, tiny example. I don't want to see our forefathers' knowledge disappear into the darkness of time. If you care for your family and what America stands for, then neither should you. With this idea in mind, 15 years ago, I wanted to do something that hadn't been done before. Something that not only would help me survive a crisis without investing a fortune in stockpiles, but something that I could do around my house on a daily basis, using only methods that were tested and proven by our forefathers for centuries. I wanted to unearth and learn the forgotten ways of our great-grandparents. So I came up with this great idea to edit all my manuscripts, to turn all this lost knowledge into one of the greatest books of this century. The Lost Ways, saving our forefathers' skills. By knowing the ways of our forefathers, believe it or not, you're covered for anything. You'll never have to spend money on any prepping material again. Forget about unreliable and expensive modern survival equipment. Why even bother reinventing the wheel when these things have been working right for centuries? The Lost Ways prepares you to deal with worst-case scenarios with a minimum amount of resources, just like our forefathers lived their lives, totally independent from electricity, cars, and modern technology whatsoever. Which means you'll be able to be bulletproof against the ever-increasing threat of electromagnetic pulse, a powerful economic breakdown, famines, and natural disasters. You'll have the power to protect and save your family, even to rebuild your community during the worst of times. And the best part is, you don't need to wait for a disaster to happen. The self-reliance our great-grandparents had will help you save hundreds of dollars every month, starting from day one. At the same time, get to take part in doing something great, saving our forefathers' lost skills. Now, I consider that I've done my part. All you need to do is make sure to hand this knowledge over when it's time to. Take full advantage of it until then. Click on the button below and secure your copy while this presentation is still running. Don't let this knowledge disappear into the darkness of time, because in the next crisis, when death will stare you in the eye, this is the only time-tested life vest that you and your family can hang on to. You'll stay calm and protected, and others will scavenge through the garbage for food. My guess is that you haven't experienced a long-time hunger, but you're probably familiar with the feeling of skipping a couple of meals. Not a very pleasant experience. We're not used to thinking about what to eat or how to procure food for our children. Again, don't take anything for granted because we're living in good times now. Our grandfathers and great-grandfathers were the last generation to practice the basic things that we call survival skills now. Why try to reinvent what they did, and did very well, for centuries? There are only a few moments in life when you can really do something big. This is one of them. Our grandparents didn't pass these skills on to us in our bloodstream, and neither will you to your children or your nieces and nephews. Take advantage of this presentation while it's still up, and save the lost ways by clicking on the button below. You're the only one that can change something.